Thanks to our sponsors Renault. The Renault Capture, the versatile compact family SUV.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Morning, lads. How we doing? We're just before we started recording there, we're just laughing. TJ said he'd do the normal intro, which Rafe normally puts in at the start, so we're starting. But TJ was doing the great Paddy O'Shea. You have to work on your Ventry accent, TJ.
I will.
The rain of rice is going to tip the scale. Morning, lads. How are you all? 20th of June. Things moving on. 3 days left in the Hurling Championship. Incredible. And 20th of June. Still don't agree with us. Not going there today, though.
No. Move on, Dalo. Elsa, move on. Let it go.
Cork, is it? Move on.
It's Asher, come here. I just loved your piece in the paper there where you said they didn't show the resilience that the top teams in the country like Limerick and Clare. But God, you're getting bullish already, kid. You're getting bullish.
Limerick. Like, I have to say Limerick. But Cork or Clare did show a bit of resilience down the straight yesterday, so I just added in Clare just for that 10 minutes,
They walked from their slumber late on just in time, and in fairness, they got over the line in brilliant fashion, and in a fashion that you'll be looking forward to playing an All-Ireland semi-final against the Cats. But anyway, it was all about Father's Day yesterday. I wasn't about the recovery from Saturday. Father's Day. Breakfast in bed. Did you get the breakfast in bed?
Did you?
No. I'm after ashes and sausages after Lanzarote. I'm straight on to the scrambled eggs and toast and a bit of orange juice and a nice cup of tea.
I have 2 weeks training to do before the semi-final now as well, because there's been a bit of lax there in the last 2 weeks. You wouldn't feel it. The kilo or two slipping on.
But geez, when you see Joe Canning and how fit he looked on the television after I watched back the match, he was in great shape, in fairness to him. So that's what you have a couple of years on him, Dalo.
I have a nice couple of years on him. Let's face it. She looked after you well for Father's Day. She did.
Yeah, I did know, in fairness. The 3 young boys were in as well. We had a great old day, and we had the US Open as well last night, and we had the Sunday game. We had a real day on the couch yesterday, I'd have to say. I watched back a couple of the matches from Saturday, so I'm flat from Hurling, and I'm flat from sitting on the couch, to be honest about it.
Had you a glass of wine last night?
I just had a couple of beers, so I was being served well now, to be fair. Would you like some ice in that? Eric, go on, so if you insist. No wine, no, and a couple of beers.
I thought your spelling on the WhatsApp page was gone a bit scoways later on.
It's got a bit funny on it. I said a couple, so you know yourself, when you're going to the pub on a Saturday night, I'll just go down for a couple and I'll be home, and you might get home till whatever time. How many did you have? A couple.
Yeah. 4. I used to say that when we got married first. I used to say it when I'd come in, where were you? And I'd say I was in the village, and she'd say we knew house in Innis, in the village. Monday night was normally, I was kind of finished hurling, I suppose. No, well, I wasn't really finished hurling, but it was winter, I suppose. But she'd say, just get into the bed, and she'd say, where were you? And I'd say the village, and she'd say, how many had you? 4. I said, but after about 6 weeks, she said, it's always 4.
There could be more than one pub in the village.
One good one, maybe. Yes, but, yeah.
Do you want a text message, Dalo, about just having one more be home in 20 minutes? And then if I'm not home in 20 minutes, read this message again.
That's the way it works in Gary Spillane. Ken, how does it work in Laura?
Oh, geez, Riverstown is my area, and it'll be a great crack around Riverstown in the next couple of weeks as well, lads, with an awfully really All-Ireland minor final, and my 2 neighbours down the road, we heard in each other's gardens, Liam Hoare in the goals and Caelan Larkin just down the road, a puck of the ball, so it's going to be great crack around Riverstown, Laura area for the next couple of weeks with the All-Ireland minor final. So we have something to look forward to, Mark.
Two very good semi-finals, Ken. Didn't see all of Tip and Galway. Now I was in the Wolf Tones clubhouse for 2, not 4, after they annihilated us in the Clare Cup, with the likes of Aaron Shanahan and Rory Hayes, etc., playing, which took us by surprise. But they had to win to try and stay up. So there was always, when we saw their lineup, we knew we were in trouble. But it was on, but they had the Tailgate Cup, as I call it, on the main screen in front of where we were sitting. So we could see it, but I must have a good look at it, actually. But it seemed a right match between Tip and Galway. And obviously then Friday night, Ken, I watched all of Clare, and an awfully gripping kind of a game. Different sort of game, more tense, but awfully getting the crucial goals. With the lad, is it Screeney? Is the name?
Yes. Adam Screeney, his brother Jack there is playing with the senior team, but Offaly have a huge,
right corner forward.
Yeah, there's a huge wave of support for this Offaly minor hurling team. Big crowd in Thurles. You saw the arena stand was packed, and in actual fact, probably took like a 16th man in a minor lads under 17 game, probably a 16th man for them, and that's what Michael Dignan was looking for from them. But Clare were a formidable team for Tip in that Munster final. Great game after extra time. Went to penalties. Such hard luck for a team that would lose in that situation. But Tip yesterday, wow, what a game. 324 to 320. That was 50 scores, lads. 50 scores. Now, a certain naivety on both teams' parts, I suppose, in different aspects of the play. But what a game. Sharp shooting at its best. Brilliance of the scores. But the key thing for Tip is obviously a point down in injury time to come back, get the equaliser, and to win by 4. Shows a bit of resilience as well, that word that we were mentioning earlier on. So it's all set up. And of course, the big interest today for us lads is, where is that game going to be played?
Yeah, what's your take on that, Ken? What would be likely? Would it be Portlaoise or something like that?
Well, I heard Dignan
obviously Michael Dignan mentioned going to Croke Park, did he?
Or the Croke Park, but like that means it's going to be before a semi-final on Saturday or whatever. I don't know from that point of view, lads. Yeah, if you have kids, women, men, and children wanting to follow their county, wanting to follow the youngsters, I think it definitely deserves a standalone fixture in Portlaoise or Limerick or somewhere like that. Yeah.
I know this is the screen. A view that all the finals should be played in Croke Park, and we've maybe railed against that a bit before. That the All Ireland minor should be before the senior, because now we were going back to under 17 and there's a lot of pressure on young lads. But I think there's been so much for me, Ken, for Clare. Like, we didn't think maybe we did a great team going into it. Brian O'Connell did a great job, obviously. To get 8 matches at under 17 level is some development, lads. And I wasn't at any of them now, to my shame, but I saw every one of them, because you could either stream them or YouTube, TG Catter, or it was brilliant all year to be able to. And you kind of got to know the team as well. And I mentioned young Screeney there, from what a battle he had with young Gunning from Clare cornerback, brilliant cornerback all year. He's the guy that really took my eye. Clare, a couple of great players. But it is massive development. You get 8 games. Like lads, my last year minor, Flannan's won the All Ireland colleges in Burr against Kieran's. 9 Clare players on the team. Before the match, St. Patrick's Comprehensive and Shannon won the B All Ireland. They beat maybe Roscrea or somebody. I can't quite remember who they beat, but all available for Clare. 7 or 8 very good players from East Clare. We had a flaking minor team and came up against a Cork minor team. Paddy O'Brien, John Corker and Mark, etc.
John Dillon.
Got beaten. John Dillon is right. Got beaten 2 points down in Kilmallock in a rip-roaring game and out end of minor career. So in some ways, it's great that they get these amount of games.
You were a little bit phased as well when Cork rolled up in the limousines. Am I right in saying that?
The black taxis.
To some crack, like, I mean, I remember my last year minor, and you getting collected outside the Tatch in Killa, a big stretch limo, like, and so I mean, you felt like a lord for a day, like, do you know what I mean? But like, it definitely hadn't affected the opposition when they saw 4 or 5 big black Merck's rolling up, like, you know, and the team the team felt like they were about 3 stone heavier and about 4 inches taller every player when they got out of the stretch limo. But that's the way Cork used to travel that time.
And we have to get now to Stephen Marsh's minibus from Bradford. Got a good team.
I know.
And the smell of farting and everything else going on. But Mark, just on that, as the great Dr. Phil would say, so how's that working for you now, stretch limos?
The stretch limos have been parked now, and sure, as you know now, sure, everything is precision timing now. Like down to when you arrive for the pre-match meal is precision timing. I don't know. Would the likes of Shawnee Fowle survive in today's cauldron of timekeeping, because we won the All-Ireland in 99. He missed the bus home and the train home, so he followed on the following day. Like, so, I just
like Fingers. You'd see Fingers in the dressing room after the All-Ireland, and you might see him again Tuesday.
Yeah.
He was close to getting man of the match. Maybe in one of them, was just as well he'd get it, because they'd have to be calling up someone from the crowd.
Yeah, but it just look. It actually, it's the professionalism around the whole thing has gone to an all-time high, like, and it's I don't know would it even suit us. I suppose we'd probably fall into the regime and stuff like that, like, but I don't know. I suppose sometimes a lot of fellas like to do the hurling on the field, and a lot of analysis and a lot of decision making is made from people's carry on outside of training and stuff like that, and how they go at the team meetings and whether they contribute to a team meeting and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. Look, just farming against their amateur players as far as I'm concerned. And once they can perform on the field of play, that's what I want them performing. That'd be my code.
Lads, we saw on Saturday the free take and the goal keep and everything. It still comes back to human error in a lot of respect, and the human situation of maybe not being able to put the ball between the posts or keep the ball out of the net. And from that perspective, that had a huge bearing on the whole outcomes of Saturday's game. So it just goes to show you, at the end of the day, all the preparation, all the science, we're all still humans. And we saw that hugely on Saturday.
Even outside of the science, the psychology couldn't even get into the heads. Could it?
No. Definitely.
I think it played a part for Clare, Dalo, I would say. I think the psychology, I know you've kind of pushes past.
Ditching that now.
Well, we'll come to it in a while. You'd have to really admire their headspace later on to kind of dig that out, and that's a normally good sign of a team. But what I was going to say is there was actually 56 wides, Ken, across both games, which was huge amount of wides at this level, at this stage of the competition, given that we had said the best 6 teams were left. And of that 56, there was actually 19 of them from place balls, either 3s or 65s, and a further 4 from sidelines. So, the wides from frees were like Cork had 4, Galway had 4, Wexford had 3, and Clare had 8 from place balls. So it's a big percentage of place balls, because normally in the game we had been saying these sharp shooters were in the 90s percentage of the strike. So it was just one of those days. Maybe the wind was a little bit of a factor, certainly into the goals. Town in there, Ken. Yeah, it seems to be flagging them a bit, doesn't it?
But even Mark Coleman then, he decided not to shoot for a few as well. That normally he'd maybe have a cut-off, and he started doubting the situation and maybe went low or dropped them in or something like that. So there was a huge crisis of confidence with the free taking for all teams.
And you'd be half wondering. Yeah, would you be half wondering that the fact that it was a knockout championship match, the first knockout that all the players had played all year long, that there was a bit more tenseness involved in it? Like, but both first halves in both games were poor. The standard of the Clare Wexford game was way higher in the second half, I would say, even in comparison to the Cork game. I thought the Cork game improved marginally in the second half, but nothing in comparison to what Wexford and Clare was. The last 20 minutes of that game was electric stuff. But I think certainly the knockout factor had contributed to the nervousness of the players.
But Mark, on that, like, you couldn't really say, sure, Wexford had to go into Nolan Park and win to come out of Leinster, and Cork had to go into Walsh Park and win to come out of Munster. So knockout. Can I throw it out there, lads? And I was we were on about preparation there a while ago, and I was one of the ones that used to be fierce nervous all week. And as soon as I got onto the bus, the comfort of the bus and look back and see McMahon and Baker and Jamesy, who'd gone on in Ennis, obviously, they'd pick us up in Clarecastle and go down then to Bunratty, and you'd pick up the Lohans and Loughnane, probably get on board there. Like, and I used to get more safe in my own head as soon as I saw that. So I needed that surround, you know, the build up. I often think of Mullane telling me the story in '98, and Brian Green hated the bus. And Brian Green, great wing back, obviously, Mount Sion, great family as well. His father, Jim, obviously a legend. And Greener said to Justin, like, or John McCarthy, he said, I don't like that bus at all, he'd get dropped up. But of course, he had a motorbike, and he passed out the bus and stayed in front of the bus like the police motorbike driver. Like, he said, going to a Munster final, just incredible. But that's it, like all sorts for all folks, you know, and that's where Brian Green's head was, and he could perform in the Munster final after that, and did do both those days in '98. But lads, can I just
go back?
just
Sorry, Dalo. Just one short story on the bus. Right, the first bus we ever took was in 1998. We went to the first round of the championship against Waterford, and I was sitting up the front. I wasn't a fan of the bus one way or the other. I didn't mind travelling in a bus, and I'd be chatting away with one of the lads. But I'd have to say, from the minute we left Cork to Thurles, Mickey O'Connell never stopped laughing and joking the whole way up. And he was down the back, right? And I was playing midfield with him, and I was saying to myself, Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to play with this for the next. Sorry, it was '99 actually. I'm going to have to play with this fella. And he's after using so much energy, talking and laughing and joking. And then he comes out and he hits 10 points against Waterford. So I just said after that day, I said, it's whatever suits each individual, I felt to myself. And it was never ever discussed anymore, like, you know, because he was just being himself. He was a brilliant player, and a brilliant striker of the ball and free taker. So it was just one of those things there.
And that's exactly, that was always my thoughts on it as well, that if fellas, I nearly leave it to, when I took over as manager, then different with the Dubs, I suppose, with the furthest way probably to go was down to Thurles, but usually if it got big, it was on in Dublin. But with Clare, I used to leave it to the players to know what they wanted to do. They want to go up Saturday night. They want to try and fly up on as we used to do in our day, on the Sunday morning. And they changed from our time. We'd no say now, obviously, with Loughnane. We flew up, but the players wanted to go up on the Saturday evening before quarterfinals, even semi-finals, stay in a hotel. If there was a football match on in Croke Park, go into that. And it never seemed to affect them. They performed the fun and they didn't always win, but they performed in fairness. So just goes to show. But on that, TJ, like 1:45 on a Saturday for an All-Ireland quarter-final, the Rebels and the Tribesmen in Thurles, like, for me, that's unnatural. And I just want to throw out there as well, I hate these 4-team double-headers because you have Clare people coming in at half-time, Wexford people coming in at half-time first game. Second game, I was obviously off duty then because it was co-commentary for the first game. But second game, then I come down, take a seat in the stand. Cork people are going away because they're out of the championship and they want to get home. And I hate those. I'd love if Clare and Wexford was on in Portlaoise Saturday night, and maybe Limerick the following day, maybe for Cork, and put it on after the Tailgate Cup if we have to give the television rights to the Tailgate Cup. But I just thought, I hated it. I was involved in it a few times with the Dubs, the quarter-final fixture, double-header, and I just got no sense. The atmosphere, we beat Limerick one year, lost the tip another year. I think we were in 3 of them in my time. Just no, even you can feel it, the blow on the field, that the atmosphere is way down from a straight county v county game, and play that in a smaller venue if you don't think it's going to fill that, a place like Thurles. I
think it's a very fair point. Like, for me personally on Saturday, it definitely suited. I didn't have much on at home. Myself and Louise tipped over, and it was like the perfect day because it was a beautiful double header to look forward to. From a player's point of view, I suppose, like some of these players could have been busy working up to Friday. And even to go back to what you said there about the whole psychology or performance coach or these people who are with all these teams, it very much is different strokes for different folks in both a team and an individual environment. Because, like as I said, some people might say, geez, 1:45 on Saturday, beautiful, bounce out of it, a few beers Saturday night, recovery Sunday, brilliant, certainly for the winners. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but I have to say personally, I really enjoyed the 2 games. I thought that there was different stuff going on to some of the other games, and maybe the first half of both of them, that cagey nature of trying to figure out where the opposition were playing. There was certain man markings going on. It wasn't maybe as, let's say, blood and thunderish and free-flowing as a Munster final, which we had just experienced, and maybe our expectation was that we were going to get back to something like that. So I have to say, Dalo, I really enjoyed it. I thought the two games on together gave certainly the neutral punter absolute great value for money. But again, I will agree with you. There was people coming in and out all day, said halfway through the first game, where I was sitting in like, look, it's just one of those things you have to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like Louise and yourself enjoyed an early Father's Day. But I'm on about the whole atmosphere of the game, Ken, where, you know, 1:45 on a Saturday. For me, it just felt surreal.
The argument is, why were the games not on Sunday anyway? Why were the games not on Sunday? That's the argument in the first place. Why were the games on Saturday? There were 2 All-Ireland quarterfinals, huge games in the hurling calendar. Sunday is the day for hurling traditionally. Obviously, the football games were on yesterday. They're trying to give the football games profile, but there'll be just as much profile given them to play on Saturday, because it is a huge day in the hurling calendar. I was disappointed, TJ, in the games, to tell you the truth. I just felt they hadn't that fervour, that drive, that passion that we normally associate with knockout quarterfinals. And I suppose Cork self-destructed Mark, to be, with all due respect, from the point of view of dominating a game that was there for him to take. But from the very word go, once Jack Grealish, struck the ball from 100 yards, there was something eerie about the whole thing. What the hell is going on here? What's going to happen next? And Cork then were sort of chasing their tails. But from my point of view, Joe Canning was obviously in analysis, and he was even shocked at the fact that Galway were ahead at half time, and was very, very sporting in the fact that he said, like, we were so lucky to get out of jail here because of the fact that they were so dominated in possession, and but there'll be huge regrets, as you mentioned, with the Cork situation, because of the fact of they had the game there, but just couldn't put it away. And for the second game, Dalo, I enjoyed the second game. I felt the second game was way better. In fairness to Wexford, they came with a purpose. They came with a game plan. They rattled Clare badly. The Rec was doing a great job on Tony Kelly, but more than that, they were, as TJ mentioned, going at it in their faces, trying to do the right thing. And unfortunately for Wexford, I suppose that they faded away with 10 minutes to go. And I said to Keane watching the game, Wexford are after beating Kilkenny now in a knockout game that you mentioned already, below Kilkenny. So Wexford are well used to this situation. They will finish strong. But fair play, you can't quibble with 1-9 to 2 points for a finish. From that point of view. So Clare finished in a storm, played very well. Obviously, the goal had a big bearing on the result. Shanahan coming in, those impact subs were absolutely brilliant. Shane Meehan, and it looked like a new Clare team with a quarter of an hour to go. And that's testament to the management team, but testament to the players as well, in the way they fought to the bitter end. And Cork, unfortunately, Mark, didn't show that resilience.
Yeah, let's go there maybe with Cork, Marco. Just to come back, Darry Egan, I suppose, just watching him last night, we ran out of bodies, he said, and you know what, there was an element of that, me looking at it with the subs coming on, and they were probably getting a bit weaker. Cork Galway, like I was doing co-commentary, Mark, I think I said after 27 minutes, Marty, I said, it's hard to believe it's 4 scores each. It was 2-2 to 4 points, I think. Maybe 26 minutes. That's right. Quite recall, but it was a strange game, wasn't it? And look, there was a general crack in the press box that at halftime in both games, or at halftime in the second game, that which first half was worse. Do you know, because and the vote I think went. The vote went for Cork Galway was worse, but Clare and Wexford was very poor as well. But I think, Mark, when the Cork management and players and that, when they sit down and actually pluck up the courage, because they probably not in any rush to do it now unless Kieran has a decision to make or something like that, but when they have to sit down and look at it coldly, they'll be sick watching it, really, because they should have won the game.
Look, and certainly we don't want to be anywhere disrespectful to Galway, who have actually won the match fair and square, I suppose, in one respect, and move on to the All-Ireland semi-final against Limerick. But I watched the game against yesterday, and I wrote down one word: unforced errors, and I said I just start ticking the unforced errors. I started running out of paper after about 10 minutes. The amount of errors and the mistakes that were made for the Cork players, and the second thing I thought was decision making. So when you bring those two things together, and you start failing to put the scores on the scoreboard, it's like you're giving a score to the opposition. That's why Galway led by 5 points at halftime, because Cork just failed to put away the scores. And I think on the 3 goal chances that Cork got, so they got 4 overall, and they took 1. Galway, I would say, they probably got no goal chance and ended up with 2 of them, because the second goal that Conor Whelan got should never have happened, because Sean just should have kept his eye on the ball or trusted his judgment that the ball was going to land where it did. But look, I give it as a half chance, where they got 2 goals from 1 half chance.
You've got to give Whelan huge credit, though. I mean, there wasn't still a lot on when Sean lifted his head to see where the ball was coming or not.
Correct. And then had the muscle, and by God, they had some tussle to get the ball, like 2 hardy whoers now, the 2 of them, in the prime of their life,
Whelan.
and in peak fitness. But like it's some of the scores that Conor Whelan got on Saturday were majestic. Like he got one on the country end of the field off his right hand side, and then he went down to the city end in the second half, and he rifled one over off his left hand side, a Joe Dean trademark down the sideline. So I thought he was very, very good now, Conor Whelan, yet again. But his strength and his power and his skill is phenomenal. But the 3 goals that Cork missed in the first half, they all followed a similar pattern, I thought, Anthony. But Alan and Robbie and Dara should have took on the ball another bit and had a bit more composure. I know Dara's strike wasn't brilliant. It wasn't a pure strike, but he could have kept going another bit and just made sure, a bit like Jack O'Connor from Wexford, like when he caught that ball for the first goal, like he caught it and he was running at full pelt, and he smacked it into the net at the edge of the square. And I felt all 3 goals were goal opportunities were shot too early altogether. Now, I wouldn't single out any individual mistake that was made. It was a culmination of the whole lot. The goals conceded, the goals missed, the frees missed, the scores from play that were missed as well. And then I thought, after Cork had come with a head of steam to bring it back to a point, Jesus, there was a couple of scores that were conceded. The short puck out to Joseph Cooney, hit it from inside his own 45 over the bar. And Cathal Mannion had a huge part to play late in the game. He picked up scores, 3 points in the last 15 or 20 minutes to push out Wexford again, or push out Galway again. So I think in general, there's no point in pinpointing one individual situation. It was a culmination of all the errors, and that's why I'm coming back to the word unforced errors and poor decision making, I thought, led to the overall fact that Cork were beaten. And you'd have to go back and say, well, lads, I thought the touch a good few times, the way you use a 30-yard strike to get yourself out of trouble. Too often there wasn't enough pace on the ball, or the ball hit the deck where the player had to control it again, and time is being lost. I thought that happened on an unbelievable amount of times, and that looked to me like a team that their hurling wasn't sharp to me. So that I was very disappointed, Anthony, and it's very hard to speak about a game whereby you possibly should have won the game, and I know we conceded a goal early, but you had plenty of time to get back into the game. So I think, Sheedy made a fair statement last night that, look, the panel of players are there, they're at the right age, they have plenty pace. I think there's a lot of upside still to come in the Cork side, but there's a lot of maturity, I would say, at the same time, that has to be found. And like when young Joyce can come into the team and look like a veteran after 3 or 4 months, I think a lot of the players that have been there for 4 or 5 years, I think there's a way more upside to come in them, because they had that potential that Kieran Joyce had when he came in at 19 and 20 years of age. And I don't think we've seen really, like Dara Fitz in and out, Shane Kingston in and out, Mark Coleman in and out. And they're 3 really, really good players. There's massive upside in those lads to come yet. It's just getting hold of him and getting the max out of him, I would say, is the next protocol for Cork.
Yeah, Liam sounded like he was touting for the job there a small bit. Did he?
Well, I say definitely. I think there was two people. If you ask me, I think there was two people dusting down the CV last night. Because I think when I think Cusick made it very quite clear as well. A bit different than Tomas Mull 3 years ago when he was asked was he interested in the job. Absolutely no way would I be interested in the job. And then he was interviewed a couple of weeks later himself in Kieran Kingston. So, like, I do think the two boys dusted down the CVs last night and said, yeah, I am interested in being involved. That was my take on it. Did you take the same, Dalo?
Well, your Camogie team are going well as well, straight into the semi-final, and there's a man in charge there from an outside county. I know you don't do it well. Now, look, Kieran obviously is the man in the spot, and I don't know where he sits in terms of his time spent. Does he do another year or whatever? Like, I don't know.
There's certainly a bit of talk on the grapevine, but of course this could be more fake news now and stuff that potentially he may be given an extra year because succession planning is an important thing in Cork. I think Pat Mulcahy and Noel Furlong, the two young coaches that were brought in this year, the first year involved with the senior team, Cork might be looking at making sure that there is some succession planning there. I don't know whether Diarmuid is interested in that, but certainly Noel Furlong would have a lot of ambition, I'd say, to be involved, and so would Pat. So I don't know. There's a lot of dust will have to settle, I think, in the next couple of weeks, and you'll have club championship. But Cork traditionally don't make quick decisions, Anthony, and I think
which is the right way.
There's a lot of smart. Yeah, there's a lot of smart men at the top table there now. Kevin O'Donnell and a few more fellas there. They will be looking at what's the best thing for the Cork hurling panel going forward. So I think the club championship will start, and sure, I've no doubt that we'll be coming back to the space again. So anything could happen, I suppose, in some respects.
Yeah, and a bit, TJ, I was just watching the Sunday game and doing my few notes like Mark, very diligent, and said, did Cork win? There was so much analysis of Cork.
Yeah.
TJ, Galway won. And they're
I'm on a different page to you guys. I just think, yes, Cork's first half mightn't have been great, and you could say that they should have been in a better position at half time. But Shane Kingston gets a goal a couple of minutes into the second half. It's back to 2 points, right? They're 3 points down on 50 minutes, 212 to 112. They're 3 points down on 60 minutes, 216 to 116. In the second half, Cork had 5 wides, Galway had 7 wides, right? So the game was there for them. For me, Marco, there's a distrust in the Cork forwards amongst themselves, and I think amongst Cork people, and I'd say amongst the Cork management team, right? There's no, I like, if you take Conor Lehane, for example, right? Yes, by all means, and no one will need to tell him it wasn't a brilliant first half, he wasn't really involved in the game, and he hit a couple of frees wide, right? But given the year he's had, like, Conor Lehane can light things up in 10 or 15 minutes. Surely to God, he was entitled to 10 or 15 minutes, right? Then with a couple of other players, like, I know Seamus Harnedy, Tim O'Mahony, Alan Connolly, Conor Lehane, no score from play. So this narrative that, like, Cork were definitely the better team, I'm not buying into it, lads. Yeah, you can tell me about the first half about 12 wides. Yeah, you can tell me about the 2 or 3 goal chances. But the bottom line is, Mark, he didn't take them, right? So
no, he didn't.
He didn't take them. So that doesn't mean just because you didn't take him, you were a better team. Like Galway. To me, Galway weren't brilliant, right? Outside of Conor Whelan in their forwards, Dalo, I don't think anybody would be going away from the game to say, geez, that was a really good performance by me, right? So this wasn't a vintage Galway performance, but they dug it out. And when Cork came back at them, they hit him for the 2 or 3 points, whether it was on puck-outs. Yeah. Like, Anna Murphy was very good. Like, they man-marked Dara Fitzgibbon. Like, to me, they got some of their tactics right. They lost Gerard McInerney, who would normally be a loss to them. And also, they brought on Johnny Cohen, they brought on Brian Concannon, and they brought on Jason Flynn, who all contributed to the scoreboard at big times in the game. So yeah. I'm not sure I'm on the same page as the general public here, and maybe it's me.
Yeah, but TJ, you would have to say there was a 5-goal swing in the first half. There's no way Cork should have conceded the 2 goals they conceded.
One second, Marco, right? Yeah. No, 1 second, go back. Rob, you cannot say that Robbie O'Flynn's shot was a great goal chance. It wasn't. No. Don't be cutting yourself. Don't be cutting yourself.
TJ, he should have took on, when I said about the 3 goals, all 3 goals should have been taken further. He had Shane Kingston on his left-hand side, and he had Alan Connolly on his right-hand side. He should never have took on the shot when he took it on. that wasn't, but it was a goal scoring opportunity, TJ, if he took it on for another 4 or 5 steps. But like, there's no excuse for Alan Connolly's miss, or there's no excuse for Dara Fitzgibbon's miss. They were shocking misses, like.
Yeah, and you could say the same the other end. There's no excuse for what Patrick Collins did, and there's no excuse for Sean O'Donoghue losing the flight of the ball. It's in similar stance, really, at just opposite ends of the field. But the bottom line is,
did Galway get any other goal chance?
In a quarter-final,
no other goal opportunity over the course of the game. And TJ, I'm not even going to go there about the 3 refereeing decisions in the last 10 minutes that wasn't picked up by RTE last night, right? And how the Sunday game, obviously the incidents that were mentioned of the referee last Sunday has an effect on this Sunday, because Robbie Flynn was born for a clear hand pass. It was a legitimate hand pass. There was a score came off of that. Shane Kingston bundled Joe Cooney or Mannion out over the line for a 65 that wasn't given.
No.
And we'll have a debate about the Seamus Hannity thing, whether that was a foul or not. I think on looking at the replay, I do think it was a foul, because Hannity's 6'3", Dahi Burke is about 5'10", and he certainly caught him in the front of the shoulder, as far as I'm concerned, and bowled him over.
Dahi Burke in person, obviously.
Definitely. Well, he's wider than he is taller now, to be fair. But I thought in real time it was legitimate, but when I watched it back on video, I felt, and the still shows, his shoulder is right underneath his jaw. That's what the still shows. So,
like, the bottom line here for me is in the game.
Dahi Burke showed the character that's involved in Dahi Burke, and in the way that he hit Harnedy. There was no hesitation in it, Mark. There was no maliciousness in it. Whether it's a free or not is debatable, but from my point of view, it's set out a marker to say Galway are going to finish this game out as winners. You've mentioned, lads, unforced errors. You've mentioned wides, but we haven't mentioned leadership. And Dahi Burke hadn't his greatest day for Galway, but Dahi Burke is a leader. Pádraig Mannion and Cathal Mannion are leaders. Joseph Cooney showed that when he went back in the half-back line. There was a huge lack of leadership with that Cork team to take it by the scruff of the neck. Down in Waterford, Mark, Seamus Harnedy showed that leadership in Walsh Park, that drive, that determination. TJ has alluded to already, the lack of scores from the main men in the Cork setup didn't happen. We know the situation with Alan Connolly, he's a young player coming through. I'd excuse him. I would give Éanna Murphy more credit than that. In actual fact, I would actually have given Éanna Murphy man of the match, not just for his saves, because he was the only goalkeeper of the 4 that was actually on form on Saturday, but also his puck outs in the second half. He nailed Pádraig Mannion with one. He nailed Jason Flynn with one. Savage puck outs that ended up in scores at the other end. So it takes the little bit of an extra ingredient to win games. I think Dahi Burke was quite entitled to hit Seamus Harnedy as fair and as hard as he possibly could. I think Cathal Mannion hit the ball off Shane Kingston, so it was a wide. It showed it on TV, Mark. And from your point of view, it's just, a cascade of regrets, really, because of the fact that she had so much possession. But TJ is hitting it in the nail on the head in the fact that so few players contributed to the Cork situation when most needed. And at the end of the day, Galway had that wherewithal. And I'd say Galway are loving this. They're loving the Sunday game last night, TJ, because they're saying, Jesus Christ, this is all about Cork. This is all about Limerick. This is all about Clare, Kilkenny. By God, we have got to throw the shackles off now and hit this Limerick team with everything.
Yeah, they dug out a tense game, but Dalo, 2 Cork forwards in Robbie O'Flynn and Shane Kingston, who started scored from play, and 2 subs. Patrick Horgan got a point from play, and then Alan Callaghan came on and got 3 great points from play. So, can you expect to be winning knockout championship games with them type of stats? And I don't think you're being fair in the bigger picture. Like, as I said, at this level, that's the quality of player you're looking for, is when those chances present themselves. So whether it's in training or whether you're not executing them right or striking them right, when it comes to this level, that's what you're looking for. That's the ruthlessness that's required to win games. Yeah. And to me, down the stretch in the second half, and the chopping and changing, to me, was there a little bit of even a disconnect? Maybe even like Cork going for that goal chance later on. I don't know. To me, there's still plenty of questions there, and I think, when you ask yourself the question, Marco, today as a Cork man, how far are you away? I don't know what the answer is, but I just don't think that you did enough to be in the semi-final.
I have to disagree with you. I made this point that I thought Galway deserved to win the game the way they toughed it out for the full game. Cork will be really disappointed, TJ, with the opportunities that presented themselves, and there's no blame. And that's why I said to you earlier on, I wouldn't blame any individual thing. It was a culmination of a huge amount of errors on the day, and the point I make is that I think there's a lot of upside yet to come.
Leadership, Mark, you have to point to leadership. Leaders win games. Tom Morrissey, Hegarty, when the going gets tough, they win games for Limerick. Leadership, TJ Reid and co with Kilkenny. Leadership with the Clare team on Sunday. You know, the guys of Tony Kelly, when it came to the crunch, having a poorish game by his standards, came to the crunch, 3 points, fantastic points the last 10 minutes. That's
Shane
what
O'Donnell.
Shane O'Donnell grabbing the game with the scruff of the neck. And unfortunately, from Cork's point of view, that didn't happen.
Yeah, Mark, and just look, we're not being down on Cork now today, because I thought it was a funny game as well, Mark. I'm going to kind of agree with you here that the lads maybe are more defined that, no, you got your chance, you didn't take it. It was a weird game. Like, straight away, you look at the first goal. It doesn't normally happen. Now, I know there was goalkeeping, but I don't get the bit about Dahi Burke, to be honest. And I know you said there's a still last night. We often refer to Brian Gavin and his analysis, obviously, and I don't know if you read him this morning, but as for Dahi Burke's shoulder on Seamus Harnedy, it was a collision I would love to have refed. It was definitely a perfect shoulder. It was vital that he made Harnedy straight. Those are the type of genuine, well-typed, yet ferocious hits you want to see. And for me, like, your great team and the team you started off with and went on then, when you were finished to win a couple more All-Irelands, like the Rock made a living out of those time, and the Cork supporters at the time would say, we've real men, we've a man that's nearly better than Lohan at full back now. And for Cork people to be whinging about that tackle, and I got a fair bit of it coming off the stand, I have to say. Like,
but Dalo, the gut instinct, once Dahi made that hit, our gut told us Galway were going to win this, because the ball was recycled and poked wide, harmlessly wide. And you knew straight away, this is Galway's day.
Now, I have to say, Ken, I was co-commentating, and when I saw it, I went, ooh, and you're watching the match, obviously. Now you have a screen in front of you, right? So, comes back in, and I'm there, Marty's talking away about it, and I'm, shoulder replay, quick, like, seems like shoulder to shoulder. And I'm there, and my first instinct was, yes, this will be a free in, and probably a yellow. Because you're watching from a distance, and we know the way it's reffed normally now. But then when you saw the replay, you'd have to say it was, Burke kind of kept his feet on the ground, maybe his right leg lifted, but the follow through maybe, Mark, all right, would look like shoulder to helmet, but I think the initial hit was shoulder to shoulder. I didn't get the whinging about
live, that one. I'd have to say live, and I was up that side of the field, I was on the opposite side, and the guy that was with me hasn't been at a match in 20 years, Tomas Jason. Thank him for driving me to the golf classic that we played in the Galway Golf Classic at Apple 7 on Saturday morning, so we could get to Thurles afterwards, and we stayed for both games, and Tomas hadn't seen a game for 20 years, and my initial reaction was that it was a fair shoulder. It was only when I saw it back afterwards I felt, maybe. And I'm just wondering, but listen, there was lots of decisions late in the game that I thought Robbie O'Flynn's hand pass in particular, for me, was a very, very poor decision. But look, that's it's not whinging, Dalo, it's just discussing some of the key things. And when those things go against you in a tight match, you always look back to a match and say, Jesus, if that went for us, it may have been different. But I think it was Galway's day, and we need to respect that as well. And it's Cork's own undoing that they're not in the next round.
Yeah, there was probably a good chance for Cork to level it too, Mark, with Jack O'Connor, that ball in front of the new stand. And I know it turned out to be a good block by Carl Mannion. But again, as I said, those are the moments. They're the big moments when you gotta maybe use that bit of brilliance that you have, like Jack O'Connor, and get that score or do something for the team to carry you to the next level. And I just, as I said, I didn't feel it was there.
No, and as well as that, TJ, we hit the upright twice as well in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of look? It kind of felt like it's just not going to be your day, lads. And just to go back to the Patrick Collins goal, right? Ring always said, you follow the ball in no matter whether you have any chance of getting the ball or not. And Fahy followed the ball in, and Damien Cahalane put out his two hands, but you men still ran around him. So Damien should have made sure that the forward should not have come in Patrick's eye line, as far as I'd be concerned. And I definitely think Patrick possibly saw out of the corner of his eye Fahy coming. He must have took his eye off the ball. No, I think Dalo, you have a theory on that this morning about the yellow sliotar, is there?
No. Jesus, it was only, I don't know.
Some for Dennis Crowley, I think, threw in a message there that was the yellow sliotar a factor with Clare and Wexford supporters, that he couldn't have seen the sliotar. But I played against Waterford in the 98 league final, and there was a sea of white. When the keeper struck the ball, you could not see the ball until it came into the skyline. And then when it was coming down again, right? So I will have to say...
You pulled anyway.
Absolutely, 100%. Once you felt you were in the vicinity, you were okay. But certainly there was a period of time when the ball was pucked out, you couldn't see the white sliotar through the jerseys. Mark, so that is something that somebody has brought up.
Cahalane there, Mark. That's one man you can't. That man was great. That man,
brilliant.
And he was, as you know, he's much maligned in Cork. I think you need the three Cahalanes. That's who you need in there.
Well said, Ken. He was outstanding, wasn't he?
I was super.
Yeah, I thought Damien.
Yeah, I was thrilled. I was thrilled for him, to be honest with it. Thrilled. No, and he hit a monster point as well. Like, he hit a monster point, and Robbie Flynn hit a monster point. And just to mark, Robbie Flynn is after a great season with Cork this year. He's come up with 3 or 4 points every day, good, bad, or indifference. But Damien Cahalane is probably one of his better days in the jersey, and he gets a lot of stick, to be fair. But it'll be a game that Cork will rue, and they will say to themselves, how do we let that one slip? And I don't want to be disrespectful in any way to Galway. They toughed it out, and they won it fair and square. No arguments whatsoever.
Yeah, TJ, watching, obviously we were both the same side of the field. I was above in the box, but it meant a fair bit to Henry, the final whistle. It's all about the result, isn't it? They didn't play that well, as you said a while ago. I agree with you. They had some big players, though. Both cornerbacks, excellent. As Ken has said, Murphy maybe could have been man of the match. He was very effective. Joseph Cooney had to go back when Garrod, and hopefully Garrod McInerney will be okay. But it looked as if it was a bit of an E or whatever. Now, look, it's no point speculating in the clue, but Joseph Cooney did a fair job when he went back. Pádraig Mannion, while not at his very best, still came up with the flick on Jack O'Connor alone, and they still David Burke, the cleverness of David Burke back defending, and won a free out there. I know it was a harsh yellow, I think, on Tim Mahoney, but he was in the right place, the right time, and I think Kingston will pass, or Kingston, not Kingston. We're so caught up on Cork. I think Henry will love the build up for 2 weeks' time, really, and we'll ask serious questions of his players, and I think things are probably in a good place now. They meet, obviously, the raging hot 3 in a row champions, not yet champions, but the team that no one can beat. Extra time, normal time, anytime.
We'll talk about that another day. But to go back to Galway for 1 second, of course Henry's going to be delighted. Like, obviously, I said already, they would have to be big time disappointed with their just Leinster final performance, and they were under pressure. Both teams were under pressure. They played that way early on. What Ken said there about Éanna Murphy, right? There is a little bit of a question mark in Galway about the use of their own puck out. The stats probably don't read as well as they would like, and they have work to do there. However, the confidence he gained, I'd say, from those couple of saves in the first half, you could definitely see him growing better in the second half, because he definitely was responsible for a couple of direct scores. So that's a major plus for them. Their full back line is a plus. David Burke steering them in the middle of the field. They're half forward. Now, they man-marked Dara Fitzgibbon with one Glennon. So, like, they obviously pinpointed him, and they had to make sure the way they set up that they stopped Cork's running game from the middle of the field. So I thought, tactically, set-up-wise, they did that reasonably well. A couple of the question marks about them is, like, inside Conor Whelan, he is isolated at times. Now, he is a horse of a man, and he is some man to hold the ball up, even against 2 and 3 defenders at times, right? But they'll have to get more support to him. I'm a big fan of Brian Concannon. I think I'd like to see him back. I've seen him doing stuff at club level. I think he belongs on this stage. He might be a small little bit of confidence away from being a top class inside forward. I think there's room for him. Jason Flynn. I was going to say, Mark, of all the incidents, I thought he got a handy free at one stage, Mark, which you didn't complain about, but which to give a free into Galway. I thought that was handy, right?
Will you leave him alone?
Then they introduced Johnny Cohen for Ronan Glennon to pick up another experienced man. And if you want to talk about maybe a moment in the game, right, which maybe swung it, right? Cork have a ball almost turned over, Mark. They're trying to bring it away. It's 70-30 in favour of Cork coming away.
Shane
Kingston had the ball almost. He has it in his hand. Johnny Cohen turns the ball over and sticks the ball over the bar. So that's the type of, I suppose, leadership and big plays that's in the Galway team. It is definitely a big help in these tight spaces. And Henry probably noticed that. And he's definitely, I'd say, was just delighted to get over the line and get himself. Because in theory, they do have some form of a free shot now. They won't see it that way, obviously. And they have the physicality. They definitely have to improve. They've their half-forward lines winning their own puck out, whether it be on 50-50 ball or movement. There's definitely an area for them. But no doubt about it. Go back to the league game. Gerard Hegarty was sent off, and Galway in the Gaelic rounds, the physical battle was unreal on the day, and they weren't found wanting. So it's going to be a different game, a different type of game, and I'm sure Galway will get plenty of confidence from this win, as we all do from winning games. I don't know if they have anything else to add to it other than the players they brought on, but I just still think Gerard McInerney would suit, let's say, picking up one of the boys from Limerick, because that's just the way his makeup is. So it looked like a bad knee injury, him, Ken coming off. So I don't know how severe that is. Maybe it might just be a knock or whatever. So if he was right, it'd be a big plus for them, because Joe Cooney has been scoring well for them. So him up the field further, even though Dalo, I think that Joseph Cooney's best position is probably 6 or possibly 7.
Oh yeah, I think naturally he would fit those roles, but he's done a great job for him, I think, at left half forward, and switching to midfield for a while, and like the one he powered up the sideline, like Robert Downey came across to meet him. Jesus, no disrespect to Robert Downey, he still has a bit of filling out of his frame to do, but it was a man against a lesser size man anyway, because he was powering. And they hit, and Cooney didn't even waver 1 inch from his trajectory, like he and drove it over the bar then as well. So, yeah, I think they might be better suited to take on Limerick with their size. Striking for me, I was down the sideline doing a tiny little bit with Damien Lawler before I went back up, and they were warming up behind me. Jeez, some of them are massive men. Like, I walked down along the sideline then, and I was trying to compare the Cork fellas. And there's a lot of growing to do. I think Liam Sheed even touched on that last night, Mark, that he'd start strength and conditioning tomorrow morning, like he was saying,
Immediately, that's right.
And maybe he has a program in place.
He might have. The deal might be already done. It would be so strange to see an outside coach or manager, right? When a fella from Tip coming down, no disrespecting, I tell you, there'll be a lot of fellas tumbling in their grave. Ring and Jack Lynch will be 2 of them, I can tell you. I couldn't imagine talking to John Fitzgibbon over in America to tell him there's a tip man in charge of Cork. Oh God Almighty, he'd be flying back straight away. But I don't know. Cork.
John Dylan knows what would they think of a tip man going down there. So
that's the other side of it. Yeah.
But, fair point. Galway are very much together, lads. You could see the elation afterwards. And Dahi Burke, the first man he went to was Henry Shefflin after the game. So they're very much together, which is great to see. So I think we're going to have one hell of a semi-final. TJ is right. Galway will throw off the shackles. It'll be a physical game. It'll be hard. And the Manions and the Coonies and Co and all these guys that are around the block a good while, they know how to play Limerick. They have never been disgraced by Limerick, as we well know. They're the one team that has stood up to them. So we're expecting a big semi-final.
Yeah, and it's quickly turned into nearly my favourite weekend of the year with the Saturday evening game, and then the Sunday. It's just, I think it's magic, and The problem is the prices of picking hotels in Dublin now are going after rails, but hopefully RTE might look after the Saturday night. So
you're all right, Dalo. You'll get some free gig for that, I've no doubt. Us poor plebs will come here. Will you any chance you get a double room and you might be able to throw myself and TJ?
We might get called up on his coattails, Marco, for something, mightn't we?
Surely.
Yeah, yourself and some ex-Galway player that you battered over the years would surely be doing a little promo before the show. Like,
Big Barry.
Yeah, Big Barry. Why the bar? Shout out to Big Barry Cullinan. Barry, I hope you bring it to him. But let's do, it's a big weekend, and the Saturday night game will be Clare and Kilkenny, the Leinster champions. I certainly thought with 15 minutes to go, I'll be as honest as I can be. I couldn't see us coming back. I couldn't see a Clare team in my lifetime coming back. It just seemed like, with the way Ian Galvin's shot come off the bar straight down the field, a goal, and it just seemed like no matter what we did, and I knew they'd come with a surge of sorts, but I thought no matter what we did, we couldn't get over the line in this one. I thought Wexford would get something, and look, there's a strong argument that they should have got a penalty and a black card for Cian Nolan. I couldn't argue with that, but that rule seems to be gone for some reason since Aidan McCarthy's famous one last year, which we'd have could complain about in Clare as well. Now you're always giving out us at the moment that we're complaining about something, so I won't go there. But yeah, it certainly could have been. But I couldn't see Clare coming back, lads. But to hit 1-9 to 2 points, I know Wexford are unlucky now with injuries. But for me, I wasn't as excited, lads, at a game. I saw that. Oh, geez, TJ, I swear, I know we met you. That was well. I was calmed down at that stage, TJ. But I went out onto the pitch. I haven't been out on the pitch the Clare game. Well, I have when I was 3 years manager, but as a supporter, I went out onto the pitch after. I haven't been out on the pitch since 2002. Obviously, in 2013, there was no one out on the pitch. It was that time just the players and their own could go in Croke Park. Anyway, you couldn't get out in the field. So, and obviously, I was Dublin manager as well at the time, up to the semi-finals. So there wasn't a go there for me. It was beautiful to meet all the lads the Monday night after the All Ireland in 13. But I was coming down off the stand and I said, "Flick it, I'd go out onto the field." And so I was hoping I'd meet Lohan. We'd be good old pals. We don't talk at the moment because that's Brian. While this is going on, I'm media and he's the manager. So, but I know when it's over, we'll meet and we'll have a beer and we'll discuss everything. And
is there any old text message over and back there, or is it just best
the good looks and that? But I'd be conscious that he's getting 140 those on a Saturday, Mark. And he knows where my heart is with him. And
exactly.
Clare,
leave met it.
You met it, like, and Brian knows what he's doing and he's showing that all the time. But I just went down onto the field. The first man I met was Gilly and his young lad, and it's gas two lads that we're meeting, with your young lads. And, there's Gilly and the young lad. Normally, Gilly now could be going to Thurles on the train from 6 Mile Bridge, like, with John Mara and Mike O'Russell and a few of them, like, they'll be making a fair day of it, the last train back to Limerick. The only was with these young lad, times move on, and he said, "Dalo, we're going to Dublin, like, and I know the footballers have been in Dublin already, and the footballers are there again next Saturday, and the best of luck to them against Derry. I'm very proud of them, obviously, living West Derry here, so stronghold football country. But I know what he meant, that the hurlers are back in the semi-final, and a chance is all. And I met Tony Kelly, was the only player I met, and Tony's first reaction was kind of look at me with his eyes and go, and this is the perfectionist that is TK, of course, like nearly how bad were we, Dalo? Of course, most lads would be just elated like at that moment, but Tony was already analysing the game. But it was a comeback that stirred the soul, and I think I had to take about 4 deep breaths when the fourth official put up 6 minutes. And what's very funny, lads, in the stand is when he goes out and we're waiting to see is it 3, is it 4, is it 5, whatever, like, So next thing the board goes up and the crowd go 6 minutes. Palpably hear that coming along the old stand side, like, and Clare had obviously had their roller coaster spell, and it was a matter of kind of staying in front. So yeah, I was elated. I don't associate Clare with those comebacks. I actually, in my deep recesses in my mind, I associate Clare being caught with those comebacks a la 2005 against Cork. And for that to happen the other way, no disrespect to Wexford got so much right, lads. The markups, Shane Reck back after 4 months to pick up Tony. O'Hanlon on Duggan. Massive one was David.
Connor David
Taylor.
on Taylor, yeah.
Oh, God, that
Huge
really,
one.
I mean, Taylor still came up with a couple of big plays, and we wanted him maybe, but an argument to say he could have been gone at that stage, and maybe that's what you're talking about, TJ, was the two lads that were taken off was Ian Galvin, who kept us in the game, and David Reedy, 5 points between them, but they looked out on their feet, and he left Taylor there, and Taylor still came up with
he won a huge ball there back in his own 30-yard line. Do you remember? And he just jumped in the crowd. It was a brilliant free that he won. Big play. But
big credit to Wexford, TJ. Overall, though, they did come with a lot right.
Oh yeah,
the twin towers inside, and McDonald and Chin and direct ball and stuff.
And Dermot O'Keefe was positioned in the field, and it was a strange game. And for Tony to come off, let's say, the Limerick game where he wasn't man marked, and now he was dealing with a proper full man marker for the whole game. It is something different, and it takes time to maybe adjust to something different. I suppose the only thing for Tony was that his free taking was off early on, so which kind of you don't want to associate with someone like him. But I was just thinking that there's something about Clare that's different for sure. One of the things that came to mind last night for me, Dalo, was with that 11-12 minutes to go, was the Any Given Sunday speech, which was we're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me, and we can stay here and get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell 1 inch at a time. And I just felt that the leadership that Ken has spoken about in, let's say, in Galway and other teams, just Clare showed it in abundance as well. And then to cap it all off, TK does what he does later on, which is nearly worth going to the match alone to see. It's just incredible. For me, I thought Shane O'Donnell was incredible. I thought even all through, his work rate, his intelligent play. There's another player, I suppose maybe another 2 players that are just having big plays nearly every game. No, Dale, numbers 5 and number 7. Dermot Ryan contributed 3 massive points in play. I suppose one other facet of the game, and you're talking about moments trying to win a game. The ball that David McInerney caught in front of the just another massive play from another leader. And I think when Ken keeps referring to that, I said, the teams that don't get themselves over the line, when they find themselves in the hole, a lot of the time it's that. It's not so much the quality of play, it's probably more so the quality of character in the finish going down the stretch is what you need. And I suppose that's what we keep referring to. Clare had it in abundance there. It was mad, and it was it was a big Clare roar there for the last 10 minutes with every ball, every score. It was mad stuff. You grew, your attendance must have grew about 50%. That's over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, they were all very quiet for a long time, but the noise at the end was a crescendo. Ken,
I think.
But Ken, I just want to say, Ken, I was thrilled to be going down the tunnel at halftime level. I think that's the difference in the two games. Maybe Cork went down the tunnel 5 down. Clare went down level. And even though they did get the setbacks of the 2 goals into the edge of the square, to be level though at half time gave maybe that little buffer. If we were 4 down, which we probably should have been, and those goals probably still would have come, you'd have been gone. There would be no comeback possible.
TJ's rightly pointed out a number of individuals there, but that Dermot Ryan fella, he lifted the team. He lifted the supporters. He lifted the game with his body language, the way he was up for the fight, the scores he took, and he just hurled with abandon, as Donny Nealon, you'll say. He just hurled with abandon. He didn't step back. He just stepped forward. And I suppose Clare, let's face it, on the negative point of view, Dalo, the suspensions thing coming into the match didn't help them. Rory starting and Peter Duggan starting. Both had very little influence in the game. Obviously, Rory was caught ashore. We have to discuss that too after 8-9 minutes.
How quick was that?
Yeah, and then you have the
I don't think it was an injury.
The Peter situation as well. Peter isn't showing form, and Peter is a lovely fella. He presented medals down in for us for Camogie. A lovely guy, a great guy, Peter Duggan. But Peter's not showing any form that would suggest that he can change a game at the moment. Obviously, he took over from the freeze from Tony and things like that. But the suspensions thing definitely had an adverse effect on Clare. They were off the pace in the first half. The key thing for Wexford was they were getting their matchups right, and also they were playing to a set plan. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had faith in Dara's management. They had faith in what they were doing. They came to Thurles to win. The Jack O'Connor goal was absolutely magnificent. The way he caught the ball, obviously, from a defensive point of view, Dalo, you won't be happy with it, but a superb goal. But I think, overall, the 2 goals after half time for Wexford, particularly, midway through the second half, it looked like it was going to be Wexford's day, and I couldn't see why you'd have that type of elation, Dalo, to come back from the dead, to win that type of game. But there's a number of things that Kilkenny will be harping on. Kilkenny will be harping in on the fact that Tony was man-marked, that Hugh Lawler will handle Peter Duggan quite easily, that the matchups then for the Conor Browns or the Conor Delaney's or whoever's going to take on Shane O'Donnell, because Shane O'Donnell, lads, is having a whirlwind year. Absolutely brilliant attitude, tearing into everything, winning high ball, leaping in the sky, leaping, and such wonderful aggression in his game after having so many severe concussions. So from that perspective, Kilkenny, the opposition, are going to have an awful lot of things to work on. They will see the weaknesses that maybe Wexford exposed, and that's something that Clare have got to, like Peter Duggan, to me, obviously the best right half forward a number of years ago, in Ireland, rightly so, playing it full forward, holding the hurley in the wrong hand, Dalo. I can't understand that, trying to catch away his right hand, and it's not just coming off him at the moment. Now, Lohan has a stick to beat him with, but they need, when it comes to the All-Ireland semi-final level, as you well know, against a seasoned team like Kilkenny, they need to up at another level. That display on Sunday won't suffice, but the energy that you'll get out of that win and the fill-up to the whole county of Clare obviously will bring you through, but it's going to be one hell of a battle against Kilkenny.
Yeah, and he will mark down a fair bit. Like, could you see a TJ and Walter twin towers in front of Everquilligan the next day? Like, it seemed to trouble Clare, direct ball in.
Yeah, look, I think most managements now do a huge amount of assessment on the opposition. Wexford got a lot of, I suppose, they got a lot of return from the 2 lads inside. And I must remark, I thought that Conor McDonald looked extremely fit on Saturday in comparison to the way he was in the league, and maybe in the last couple of years he certainly was broader and had a bigger shots, I would suggest, but he looked really, really fit on Sunday or Saturday. I think Kilkenny are capable of doing anything. They have the players, Anthony, but I equally think that you're capable of doing anything as well. And look, all the points that the lads made are 100% valued. Like McInerney's leadership, like, we didn't see Conlon at his brilliant best, but he didn't have to be at his brilliant best. He was magnificent in the Munster final, and I've no doubt that he'll come again for the semi-final. Diarmuid Ryan, as you know, he's in my fantasy team. I spotted him from a long ways out, Dalo, at the start of the year. I had a lot of faith in him.
He's a great scorer.
He's some fine. He's some fine now. But
come on now. Yeah. He's there a few years now. Like.
Yeah, but picking him on your team is a different thing, like, So David Fitzgerald and John Conlon didn't have the brilliant games that they had in Munster final, which to me does show, and Tony Kelly. So to me, it shows there was certainly a hangover for those 3 individuals, because I say mentally and physically they left everything at the Munster final. And Henry made a very valid point last night about the
Ken, you have to leave us.
Yeah, Dalo, thanks very much.
Pleasure, Ken.
See you guys.
Pleasure, Ken, and thanks so much.
Okay, Ken, take care.
See you, Ken. Good to see you.
Let's look in the minor, Ken.
Okay, I think Henry made a very valid point last night about the 2-week gap between the matches. And he said, thankfully, there was 2 weeks between the games. And that's where we're coming back about saying about the McDonagh final, that the GA have to find a fortnight to play that preliminary quarter-final someplace. So, but like I thought,
when you look at the exposure now, the Tailteann Shagan Cup is getting, no disrespect now, these lads are entitled to have a go, but the little respect we're given to the Joe McDonagh Cup and our lesser competitions in hurling.
Well, like, you'd have to say, and Ken mentioned it earlier on, like, I mean, the Tailteann Cup is the second grade, we'll say now, the second tier. And I think it's excellent for the teams that are involved and the commitment they gave. And I saw the matches yesterday. As you know, I was on the couch, so I watched the football matches yesterday. And there was, look, do you know what it is? Water finds its own level. Do you know, the games were very, very level, and they were consistent with the standard that's there at the grade that they're playing. But to leave All-Ireland quarter-finals be played on a Saturday and to have the second grade football be played on a Sunday is not a good decision as far as I'm concerned for the people in Croke Park. Those quarter-finals should have been played on a Sunday, in my opinion.
They have to promote it, Mark. We all know the story. Like it needs all the help they can get. Football. Everybody knows here that football is for fellas who aren't skillful enough to play hurling. But what I will say about Wexford, Dalo, is while we're talking about the game, Roy O'Connor was a big loss to them. Like he's a big player for them. He's a scoring forward. So for him to go off at the time was actually getting a good point as well. He was a loss to them.
Huge loss.
And
yeah.
they were the form team coming in as well. Like they were after that big win in Nolan Park. They had found themselves nicely in the quarter final. Very difficult team the way they set up, as you said, to play against. And you know, I am. Ken made a point there about Hugh Lawler. See, the other thing too is from Kilkenny's point of view is, let's say if Peter Duggan might be starting at full forward, but he'll drag out the field, he'll be trying to drag Hugh out of there, leaving space for maybe Ian and Tony inside. Clare worked that very well. There's a nice kind of Tony's in, Tony's out, Dougie's in. Like it works well for them. But just to talk about Wexford for a second, the couple of man markings they had, which you just touched on.
Come here. Thankfully, you're going to start talking about Wexford there, because we've been talking about an All-Ireland semi-final against Kilkenny. Like, I see Tom Dempsey now has an article in the Examiner today about the so little respect that the Sunday or the RTE gave to Wexford. So, TJ, come on, we need to hear about Wexford, like, because I don't want you getting the second yellow card from Tom Dempsey, like.
No, my seven Tom is all squared away since last week. That's all cool. Like their setup was very good. Their man markings were very good, and they got goals at big times in the game. I suppose if you were to be a small bit critical of Wexford, is you only scored 14 points, and I suppose at this level on a quarter-final day, that number needs to be higher in order to win and get over the line. They created a couple of chances, and I thought maybe a bit of movement from one or two of their forwards would have given them maybe one or two more scores a little bit easier in the second half. So if that's the pieces they have to pick up on for Dara, definitely pleasing first season. They will be happy to put themselves. Yeah, they'll be happy to put themselves in the position they did. But at the same time, 6 points up halfway through the second half. Opportunity was knocking, and again, like the good teams maybe the better teams, that might be unfair, find a way, and just didn't find their way home. And maybe Dara's right, they ran out of bodies in the finish, but you have to credit Clare. Dalo, we will have to talk about the Aaron Shanahan effect. Welcome to the game, welcome to the Championship 2022. He made a significant difference. He was buzzing from the word go. I know maybe D. O'Keefe might look like he made a mistake. He didn't get to that ball, but that clicked Shanahan into gear. He got 1-2, and Shane Meehan, like, again, another positive. And in fairness to Mac Rogers, even though he didn't score, he contributed also. So the panel looks like it's in a nice place as well. But definitely a major plus for Lohan this week. And you touched him then coming on and getting a couple of goals against you yesterday. Shanahan is a big plus.
Three. We went down, just to let the listeners know, we went down to play the last round of the Clare Cup, as we call it, which is the County League, Division 2, we're in, obviously, 1B or whatever they call it. And Wolf Tones are down the bottom, not the bottom, but they were kind of second bottom, third bottom, and they needed to win. And we've nothing to play for, really. We can't go up. We were beaten by Newmarket the previous week, so we couldn't go up. And we're down a lot of bodies, and down anyway, and there was talk that the Clare panellists would be allowed play, you know, and so we had Cian Broderick, who's the third goalie, and Cian Galvin, who would be our main up-and-coming young star, and he's not quite getting into the 26, and he's disappointed over that. And here's the rub. Like, I suppose that Cian has a broken bone, as far as we know. Last play of the game, didn't like the slap. Now I have to say, he was going in on goal. Wolf Tones are well ahead now. They were 12, 13 points up, and Cian was trying to get a goal for us to put a bit of respect on the scoreline. Got a slap. Not sure who hit him, to be honest. He got a slap. That's all I know. And probably a broken bone in his hand now today. So his season is bloody well over now, probably, which is gut-wrenching because he missed all of last year with a knee injury, just coming back to himself, really starting to look the part. And gutted for Cian today because he's a great lad and we love him, the bones of him.
And he'd been released, Anthony, to play the match.
Yeah. No, I would totally understand that bit, Mark, because he wasn't getting into 26 yesterday. He was only on the bus and poking around beforehand and poking back the balls, maybe in the warm-up or whatever. But so he needed a game. So, and that happens in hurling. Look, we were delighted to have him. you know,
Yeah,
just to get a game
exactly.
into him, because we haven't seen much of him.
That's a look at the draw, yeah.
Yeah. No, what I couldn't believe was I saw the bold, who's an absolute gentleman, is Aaron Chandler, warming up beforehand. And I said to him, hi, I get on the phone. I says to him, to Brian, like, but I think Chandler was only on the field for 15 minutes. So he was told, play the game tomorrow, maybe don't play at all. And he came off with about 10 minutes to go because they were comfortable, but got 3 goals and I think 2 points from play, 3 goals. Like, it's a gamble. Rory Hayes played centre back, played really well. So any talk of an injury the previous day, out the window. Darrell Lohan played right half back, who was in the 26 as well.
Is he Brian's nephew?
He is. And massive news, lads, around the county then as the night goes on. Of course, these matches are fairly low key, a couple of 100 people in our game, and that was all. And I wouldn't say too many from Clarecastle travelled, knowing how shook we were for bodies and everything else. But news that Friday Kilnamona, Aidan McCarthy played a great game in Division 1. So that's big news. Patrick Crotty played for Scariff. Who else played? Robin Mounsey played a great game for Rouen. So Lohan, like, to allow Shanahan, you would say 1-2 off the bench, 12 days out from the Ireland semi-final. There's an element of gamble, lads. And if Shanahan broke his bone in his hand, like poor old King Galvin, we would be saying mistake to allow him to play.
Yeah,
you know, he's vital. But lads, his confidence. I met him after the match. We shook hands. I said, Chenny, bring that now to Crow Park. And he said, thanks, Dalo. And look, I know you were down a few bodies, and I hope Keano's okay. He's a gent. But then the gamble pays off, if you like, because the young fella, not alone was he chest out Saturday night, but yesterday at around 2 o'clock, his chest was out. Another good bit again, you know, having kept his side in the division as well.
Yeah, but what it also shows is the maturity on Brian Lohan's part here, that he's mature enough to let the players go away and play. The lads that haven't played a whole pile of hurling, lads, your club wants you. We only take a loan of you to play it into county. And I think you've mentioned a couple of times how frustrating it is to be a club manager in Clare at the moment, not getting players released. So Brian Lohan has obviously, you know, made a very mature decision, I think. I remember going back when Donald O'Grady was involved with Cork, he would let no player play any match. And it was really frustrating for the clubs involved. The fellas outside the 26 wasn't even allowed to play matches. So I think fair credit due to Brian Lohan on making that decision. And yes, we all know you could get injured, but they could go and train next Tuesday night with Clare and get injured as well. And it's the same outcome. It's just where they got injured. And in fairness to the Cork senior selectors, they left Mark Keane play a club with club championship already this year with Evan Dew. And they left other players, released other players to play as well. So I think the managers who are confident in their own panel make those right decisions for the club, like, you know.
Yeah, the Aidan McCarthy one could be, and Shanny, I suppose, was on a bit of a high anyway from Saturday, and then, as I said, the chest was out. Another good bit, I'd say, yesterday. The Aidan McCarthy one for me was great news to hear last night.
But I heard he's flying now. You know, I have a source on Ina Killamona, and he would say he is back to his best, and a bit disappointed, I'd say, that he may not have been involved with the 26 over the weekend. So, like,
but that was the worrying bit, Mark. You see, I had heard that as well, and then he wasn't in the 26. So I said, was there a setback again? But to hear that he played for the club and played so well, he really will come into the mix now, lads. Because this fella for me, it'd be an automatic 1 to 15 player.
He's a serious player.
Whether he would be now after missing all he has missed, but certainly in terms of a 75-minute game, 76, 77. Aidan McCarthy would be one that gives another dimension to the subs, did you?
Another major plus for you, as well as obviously a huge, and like that's what you like to see on all the panels, is the pressure coming from the back end of the panel onto the panel to try to get onto the first 15, because now all of a sudden you're creating that dynamic in training, which is driving things on. And again, this week after coming off a win, they'll be really buzzed up, and you'd be mad to go back training now Tuesday and Thursday after that and meet the lads and drive on again. But one other thing I was going to say, Dale, was Clare scored 19 points from play, and that came from 9 different scorers, which is on a day. Now, this is kind of a strange one because we were laughing. I met the great Shiny McGrath and his brother and his dad coming out, Mark, after the game, right? And we were kind of saying that TK, like you just said there, Dale, you'd be kind of saying, he didn't have a great game. We still scored 4 points from play, which is a huge return from any forwards. So that'll just tell you the level. But on a day when Clare maybe we probably have him branded as a one-man team at times, and which is unfair on the rest of the lads anyway. But on a day when it didn't click for him early doors, the rest of the boys came up trumps, kept him in the game, and then down the stretch, Tony does what he does best. But a major plus to get 19 points in play. It was the biggest of the 4 teams. Now Galway had 10 scorers in play, all right, but Clare had 9 scorers in play.
Yeah, and we mentioned a good few individuals. A shout out for me for again, Paul Flanagan putting himself in the mix for an all-star. I think what a season he's having, cornerback, Mr. Dependable. And again, like Conor Cleary got the yellow card again. We've mentioned on the show, and you mentioned how trim Conor McDonald looked, but he got no score, Mark. So Conor Cleary again, Mr. Unassuming, head down.
Mr. Unassumable.
Yeah.
He's always the fullback you'd like, Dalo. Says nothing, gets on with his business. Thanks, lads. I'll have to shower in the gear bag. I see in the bus afterwards. You wouldn't even know he's in the dressing room. He's gone. Gets his job done. I like that kind of a fella.
Yeah, so Clare
Robin Mounsey. Yeah. Robin Mounsey. What's the story there? How come he's not seeing much action, is he? And he was brilliant early doors.
He was, but that was a big shock to us all, Mark, that his development, he'd be great minor in 20 now. Ruan Corfin join up for underage, and they've won everything up along now, minor 21 in Clare, and he's been centre back, midfield and those teams. And then when we saw him corner forward in the first round against Tip, we were kind of saying, "What are you doing, Brian?" And then he did a great job. It threw Carl Barrett. It said he didn't even know who he's marking. Look, as Rogers, you see, and Meehan come back to fitness, Mark, it's harder, And I'd argue a little bit with Ken, but that nothing has happened for Peter Duggan. I still think Peter Duggan is an
he's a queer hawk. Oh, no. The physicality he's bringing, the challenges he's making, he'd upset a nation, that fella.
No, and he, when he doesn't catch it himself, his man is not catching it. There's no one catching the ball off him. So that's a breaking ball.
When you have Shane O'Donnell and David Reedy and Ian Galvin and Tony Kelly in your forward line, the dynamic needs then a Peter Duggan. That's that absolute need it.
Yeah, and you possibly have a tailor-made guy now in Shanahan coming to form, hopefully, because Shani's streaky. He won't mind me saying that. He's streaky. When he hits form, he can be devastating. When he's out of form, it doesn't go his way. In 18, he was in real form, and how unlucky was he not to win the match against Galway in 18. He hit the ball and James Cahill stopped it with his body, and then he scooped it and it hit the post. I'm thinking he can be, and for me that could be an X factor for Clare. But look, obviously, if Clare hurl like that the next day, Saturday week, lads, we'll be 10 points down. I mentioned going down the tunnel level with the likes of Reid and these guys and the Keones and Billy Ryan's and Cody's. Mullins, we'll be 10 points down at halftime. So Clare can't perform like that again, but that is very much out there and well known, I think, within the camp and without the camp, Teach.
The Rory Hayes thing is unique as well, right? To be whipped after 8 minutes. My immediate reaction was there must have been something wrong with him, but then he got the Brian Cody treatment in because Lohan didn't even look at him coming off, right? Which is also interesting. But I suppose by Rory standards, maybe the last 2 games, let's say maybe against possibly Desi and against Shemmy Flanagan, they probably hadn't gone as well. Deep dive.
Too much scored. Too much scored.
Yeah. Too much scored.
And Lohan was always a guy playing that mark your man. And then I think when Rory took that chance, got overturned by Lee Chin, and
he came across the square,
crossed just outside the post. I think Brian just said, "No, enough of that." And Keane Nolan is kind of the opposite kind of a cornerback. He wouldn't be the ball playing.
I know.
Player
but he was effective.
He's a doggy kind of stuff. He will do his job to the letter of the law as a cornerback. He wouldn't be in the Barry Nash mold now, but
8 minutes is cruel. I don't think I do that.
I know. I don't think I did. I don't think I ever did either. But it's Brian Lohan we're dealing with here, TJ. He did extraordinary things all his life. But I'm not a fan of these 4-team double headers, lads. And I know it was all right for you, TJ. I saw yourself and Louise getting out of the chopper with Bill Murray and JP and Noreen. I was parked in Dr. Morris Park, but you're
traveling style.
It was an extremely enjoyable day. It was
How was
extremely
Bill?
enjoyable day.
How was Bill?
Do you know, Louise don't know an awful lot more about the film, so I would hardly know him at all.
I'd have to say I was
Who
in
you
the
gonna
TJ
call?
mode. I was in the TJ mode as well, Dalo, because I stayed for 2 games, and I was in amongst the Cork supporters. But there was one Clare supporter in there, and in the first game, every about 15 minutes he was running, "Come on, the banner!"
Ooh.
And we got talking to himself, Paul the Baller from Clare and Roisin from the Rockies in Cork. They were really enjoying the day. They had a couple of tipples with a great chat, a couple of selfies and stuff like that. And he replicated the Clare team, right? The shoulders were shrugged down for the first 55 or 60 minutes in the Clare game. But by Jesus, when you started to come, he was off the seat. He really loved it, I must say. He went into a different zone altogether.
He was rolling into the finish line.
He was rolling. He was, yeah.
The dynamic lads we give out about, you know, the controversy the week before, and I thought, look at the reaction. The social media reaction is just OTT. Shane Dowling mentioned that his column, you know, and I know Brendan felt it a fair bit. Brendan had to read out the piece, obviously, on the Clare indiscipline, whatever was in the Sunday game. It's just upset me, to be honest, the level that all our counties are willing to go with these fruitcakes and these nameless cowards on Twitter and Facebook and that, calling out
Dalo,
people and saying stuff.
I make this point. I make this point about social media all the time. I say to Louise, if a particular person was down in the pub, right, and they had an opinion on something, would you talk to them? So the answer is probably no. So my point is, why in the name of the Lord then would you listen to them on social media or read them on social media? Don't read it.
I know, I suppose if you're on Twitter and you're out there and next thing you're getting...
Well, if you're on Twitter, you're going to get negative as well as the positive.
Oh,
so
Jesus, don't talk to me about that.
It comes to territory.
And I'm good to shut it out now, I have to say. The odd time to get you. When you feel it's an injustice, you see, that's when it gets you.
I can hear you were very upset a couple of weeks ago now. The Tipperary crowd were getting under your skin, kid.
Yeah, that I was pro Limerick. Oh, my God. Anyway, if any of them saw me at the Munster final, because it does go to... You know, when the kids are reading it, they're all on Twitter as well. When they're reading it, stuff like that. And I felt a bit for Brendan and Shane, I have to say. They're only doing their job, you know. People say well-paid job, God love them. They're not soccer players, you know. They get a few bob. So it was great to hear Mary McCarthy that lives down the road, but she's engaged to a Wexford lads. Niall, I'm fairly sure. But I came back and good, nice crowd here, but Faye and Grace were keeping the game. Alicia doing all day now, in fairness, herself and Anna. She hasn't got to a match yet this year, but hopefully we might get her to the final if we could get there. But we'll be going there anyway, you see, with the wave and thing. But Niall with a Wexford jersey was here with us, and we had great crack with him with a few pints. And it's a great, like, GA people are fantastic, aren't they? Meet a Wexford man there here in the pub, and real sound and great stories about we went back to the famous Sack Walsh, used to be full back from the Fight Harriers in Wexford Town, and stories about Larry O and Tom Dempsey as well, and you know, he'd listened to the show with Tom Dempsey and loved it, slagging you, TJ, about 96 and stuff, and just great. And your story there, Mark, about the Clare man and the Cork girl,
Roisin and Paul, correct. Absolutely, brilliant.
Fantastic part of it, yeah.
Actually, I was thinking afterwards, Tom Dempsey. I think I played in the shinty there in Galway one year, and the Wexford boys were there. It probably must have been after 96 or whatever. We were inside in this pub, and it could have been Tom Dempsey. No, it was definitely one of the Wexford players who got a drink or whatever, and he said he tasted it, and you know what? He didn't think it tasted brilliant, so he asked Larry O. He just took us up out of it. So he asked Larry O to taste it and see what he thought of it. So Larry O got the pint and drank it all and told him he thought it was all right.
Hey, brother, that tastes fine to me.
That tastes fine to me.
Look, lads, great stuff. Fogras. I just want to start it off by saying, I mentioned last week that we had the Broadford team here in the pub. It was the Budike team. Sean Dyle shoot me. He's a But what threw me, I think, was Dyler had a ring to say we might come off Dalo. We're playing an 11-a-side tournament. Bradford have an 11-a-side tournament that we're playing in that, but we won't be in it long. He says, I might come back to you on a bus. Or Sound Dyler, I believe Liam's brother Sean. And Sound Dyler, I said, and that's what threw me, I think, Bradford. But you don't confuse Broadford and Bodyke to be neighbours. And it would be,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Good
it was
man.
Bodyke. And lads, if you could return the card machine that's missing since the bus trip, that would be a help also. So it was Bodyke. We knew there was a little bit of hidden danger there, you know. Characters, big characters, and no, very grateful for the lads for coming over. Just to mention that. Patsy Nicholas as well, TJ, one of your favourite publicans in the city, for looking after the Clarecastle lads last Saturday week. Forgot to mention him last week as well. Shout out there just for Twitter last night, lads. I was just watching the golf near the end, and Patrick Lynn, who's a Waterford man, must be doing well for himself over in a hotel in Vegas, baby. And he said, "What a spot to be listening to the podcast." And Patrick, I asked you to talk to management about a live gig for myself
in
and
Vegas,
and you can be the guest. Get us over there, the Stratosphere Tower or Planet Hollywood or one of those places. TJ, do you fancy
Caesar
being
Palace
over there?
I was in the Strip in Las Vegas there a couple of years ago. I have to say I love it. I wouldn't mind going back at all. I think we would be ideally suited to that place.
We are that way inclined.
I think we're that way inclined. I think it would just if it was a city in the States made for us, I think it just might have been Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Well, we'll have to start with the JP McManus inside the ropes now, TJ, in a couple of weeks' time. That'll be an interesting one, won't it?
Yeah, we're going to do in the pile after semi-finals. We'll be in a day or the day after. Well, that's story for another day. Dalo, a couple of things from me and the Fogers, right? First of all, I know this is a story for another day, but I did see last night that you are actually favourites to be Kilkenny. Just so you're aware, in case you didn't get to see it.
First time since 97.
Yeah. Pressure is a privilege sometimes. A couple of things. First of all, a message from Fedamore GEA. They're hosting a senior hurling tournament in Fedamore on the 26th here in Limerick. Promises to be a great day out. They have Glen Rovers from Cork, Parkswell from Limerick, Coolderry from Offaly, and Capitagle from Galway coming up, and everyone's invited along. So that comes for
all sponsored by Liam Burke.
All sponsored by Liam Burke. Comes from Padraig Kelleher, who's a member of the Come On Racing Club and also a big listener of the pod, and he just said to give him a shout out today. A couple of other ones from me. I got the Galway match wasn't over, Dalo, right? And two of my old soldiers in St. Thomas's, right? Not involved in the intercounty squad, right? I got two messages. One which read, "We're coming for ye," with a big angry face. And the second one, right, from a different player, said two words. Tick tock.
There was gravel in that one.
There was gravel in that one. And from the same fella, there's gravel in him. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Also, the Fela competitions are coming up too. Shout out to Ahan, who are going representing Limerick. And I know down in Cork, Douglas team won the double, which is some achievement down there in Cork, to win both Fela competitions in football and hurling, Marco.
Yeah, well, there you go now. Shout out there for the Killa J Classic coming up, Dalo, July the 13th, 14th and 15th. Ray Ratchford is the man behind it for the last nearly 30 years at this stage. So if you can get a team of three together down at West Waterford, the home of Seamus Power, the man who...
Well, we could be in Clare the 15th, couldn't we?
What date, Mark?
July the 13th, 14th and 15th.
Come on, Ireland, like you time it well, don't you? You big notions to be in Dalo Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's following on. Mark, that's following on there from. This is totally personal and totally abusing our. Which is allowed. Five bands and a pig is on the 10th, lads. Here in Murty Browns, we have Switch, the Hazards. We have You Can Dance. We have Ali Woodford and a great trad band early on. 5 bands, and we'll have the pig on the spit here. So just a tenner to get in. Hoping for a rocking day, good sunshine maybe, and lots of crack week before the All Ireland. So
Sunday the 10th. So
Sunday the 10th.
If we can go to Willie Mullins' Sunday night, I met Patrick in Leopardstown last week. He was home from America, so I just said, Patrick, are we okay for the 9th? He said we are. I said, look, we could have a lot of people coming. What's the best thing to do with parking? The best to go down to the Lord Bagnall, he said beforehand, and park the cars there and carpool up. He said, we'll be ready to rock at 10:30. We'll have Katie Tay ready to roll. And he said, you can go back and have a cup of tea or a sandwich and a chat in the Lord Bagnall afterwards. So, but we'll be sending out an email or a WhatsApp. And there was a man was on there last night, Larry, about a WhatsApp group. We'll try and get that We have myself and Patrick have spent a couple of hours getting numbers in, but it takes a lot of time to get it done. So, but yeah, that is going ahead on the 9th of July.
Great stuff. Yeah, you're too old for 5 bands in a peak anyway, so I want you to
I'm
send
just saying,
your
maybe
nieces
we
and
could
nephews.
carpool from. Could we organise a carpool from the Lord Bagnall to Murty's?
The Monday's a better day, actually. There was only one band on the Monday night, but
Right.
anyway, yeah, that'll be a bit more suited to the Monday night now, let's say. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
Fair enough. Yeah.
No,
I think are we on for a live pod from Murty's as well, Dalo, hopefully before the All Ireland, and with a bit of luck from my side and your side, maybe we could be teeing up a Limerick Clare final.
I'll be the neutral. I'll be the neutral again.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, CJ, but we're going to maybe try for an end of season one anyway. Pod. I think the thinking might be now to switch it to Dublin on the Saturday, which will suit the two of you as well. You get nicely put up and all that looked after. So I don't know where
4 seasons. Yeah,
we're looking in. That is 4 seasons. I'd say we'll get to 4 seasons. All right, let But yeah, lads, look, great show again. There's nothing else there except
any fantasy score, no?
No. Well,
no.
You know what? Today, I suppose, and that's the way we'll end the show, TJ. We're not going to go with the fantasy today because obviously the tragic news broke on Saturday night into Sunday morning that the great Damien Casey, at 28 years of age, passed away over in Spain on a wedding party over and a pool accident, and man that scored 14 points in the Nicky Rackard final only a few weeks ago. What a hurler. I mean, to see his performance that day and see some of the scores. We actually played tribute to him here the following day on the Monday after that. And Onrua obviously is the home of the fantasy hurling and the fantasy football. And I'd say Damien is their proudest son, and they are very upset up there. And I saw the scenes from the vigil last night. They did Damien proud, and our thoughts and prayers are with the KC family and with Owen Rua and Tyrone J, which has seen a lot of tragedy over the years. And this is another body blow to them. People will come together, and I think that the brilliance of Owen Rua, Hurling and Camogie and Dungannon might pull people through, but you know, to the people very close to Damien, that'll take a long, long time. So we won't put up tables or anything else this week. We'll remember Damien, and we'll say over and out to our listeners, and or yesterday, Gorevanum.
Well said, Dalo.
You're here.
Thanks to our sponsors, Renault. The Renault Capture, the versatile, compact family SUV.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life.
A grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.